Quiet's driving me insane. Silence rattles in my brain. Yeah, I gotta get away. Always waiting for the fall, so I built my towers tall, wandering through these empty halls. Break the cycle now, walls are coming down. I gotta make it out. Yeah, 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 yeah. Look my fear right in the eye. I just wanna feel alive. I just wanna feel alive. I just wanna feel I gotta save me from myself. This emptiness, it hurts like hell. My good intentions let me down. I keep getting in my way. My stubborn pride will dig my grave. Leaves it behind with every step I take. Yeah, cycle down, walls are coming down. I gotta make it out. Yeah, 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 yeah. Look my fear right in the eye. I just wanna feel alive. I just wanna feel alive. I just wanna feel alive. I just wanna feel alive.
So cliche, I see the sparks you throw my way. I know your name is written on everyone's mind. Your whole show is captivating me, but don't think that I can see right through that disguise. But when you got close to me, you had me falling so hard, baby, yeah, now I get it. You got heads turning, and you don't even try. Well, would you look at that? My glass is empty, glass empty. How about I get another drink, baby, drink, baby? Okay. See through the heart that bears it all. Take it apart, throw it away, put it back together again.
Okay, now it's working. Welcome, no, my voice. Welcome everybody for the first round of the new season in the Pure SimGrid GT3 with the Masters. Here we are in South Africa, and I've just noticed that the minimap is wrong. Now it's better. 1 and 2. So, here we are back. I am back. I am Cristian Romano, for whoever doesn't know, and we are here for our championship that will last exactly 7 rounds as always, starting at Kyalami, finishing at Imola. And at the moment we are going through the racetrack with the drone cam. We're just trying to do multiple things at a time. We are now over sunset as the multiple drivers are going to put their first flying lap. Coming across here is a portion, not really sure which one it is. As we are now after Clubhouse, and then here it is, the most beautiful place of the whole entire circuit. It's an S, and it's the S's 8 and 9. You have to take the curb inside and on the other inside, but not too much, otherwise you will jump and you will become a little airplane that just awaits to crash into the grass. Then here we are into the Lew Cup. Turn 10 and 11, you basically have a blind braking spot here on the right. It's that tiny marker on the very right of your screen. Then we go down here for a good chunk of time to go into mineshaft, turn 12. We go under the bridge. It's a very long journey, to be fair. As you can see from the minimap, everyone is starting to slow down massively to get ready to their qualifying lap, and we break here the 100 meters mark. Actually it's 110 to be completely fair, and we go to the right to go into the crocodiles. 13, then 14. Here the Ferrari slows down, and then into 15 Cheetah, where that curb, the yellow curb on the right, is basically a death sentence. If you take it, you will be taken out of the racetrack entirely. And then into 16 Ingwe, which is the last corner of the circuit. Just for commentary duties, we'll go through the initial part that I actually didn't cover, because I was trying to do, well, to understand why OBS and my controls weren't working for a brief moment. As always, some things aren't really working. I'm starting to think that it's just bad luck, I guess. Actually, no, it's just me being unprofessional. Anyway, we go into turn 1 to go into turn 2, to be fair, which is Cotton, and then this part here is turn 3 and 4 with Barbecue finishing the whole path. As we go with the first drivers that are currently setting a lap time. Altogether, not a single one of them will be useful at the very tail end of the qualifying session, since this track doesn't really have a great, I would say, heating phase. You have quite a difficulty time to heat your types up entirely, so the first lap is usually just a bungle lap. A couple of liveries aren't showing, not really sure the reason of that. And I think Zakdal is effectively the first one to set a proper lap time, not yet. I think the next one in line is going to be Veldman. As a matter of fact, he is going to be the next one in line, but he is not actually improving. His time is actually below expectation, since he is currently matching his own time, which is a 1:41.130, as Nooms goes very quickly in the 40.6. A proper lap time will be into the 39s even for Pro. At the moment I'm not really seeing anything such as that, but I'm seeing quite an improvement here from the Vesta Sport Ferrari number 28. It's actually Giovannini that is actually improving by 3 times, as Kazmiri went into third with his first lap, and first valid lap also for Dobos, that didn't made nor the first nor the second, but he goes in first place in the Iron Lynx pink Ferrari. Iron Lynx that will go in Daytona with the 4, but this is something that I will use later on. Giovannini in fact goes in third place, just 2.5 tenths away from the very lead of the qualifying session, but there is someone else here, because we are going with Nunes. He is currently 2 tenths around there, improving on himself, and there is still an entire sector to go. Here we go into the left kink, the mineshaft and the crocodile. Correct the braking point, but unfortunately he's a bit too much wide on exit. No, not really. Actually utilizes everything. He utilizes more than everything. He goes even on the grass, breaks at the 50, goes on the apex, and he just loses that tiny bit on exit, which will preclude him to go into pole. He will actually stay in 3rd place because Dobos, he's ahead of him, but Wegman is even more ahead in the Habauto Mercedes 67, 40.3 for the Dutch driver. Giovannini is not over yet, as he goes a bit quicker than himself. Those 4 times will be crucial at the very tail end of the qualifying session. As you can see, I've also activated the motion blur. I'm not really sure if it does a difference. I just prefer it, so let me know. As I was saying, Giovannini unfortunately loses a lot there, and in fact he will not even submit lap time, since he went off track. Someone that is actually submitting his lap time is here, Wegman. A 10th better than himself at the very moment, with around 7 minutes to go to the qualifying session, plus a tiny bit more since qualifying session doesn't actually end the very second the flag goes over the final start finish line. Yeah, okay, I was about to say straight, but this is not really a straight, to be fair. He still has a time to go. Oh, goes on the apex, extremely close to the yellow bump. He breaks at the 50. He goes completely off the apex, loses a tiny bit of time, but he still manages to complete the qualifying session, or rather the lap number 4, with an improvement by 1/10, and he goes in the 1:40.2, and Nunes goes even quicker with a 1:40.232 though. So at the moment I'm not really seeing any other improvements whatsoever, apart from this one here, because the Porsche number 80 is indeed improving his own time. For a tiny bit it was like that. Unfortunately he just lost a 10th in these turns here. He could still be able to manage an improvement. even though he is actually the best performance. He is literally the best performance in every sector. So if someone can beat him, it's definitely him. There are a couple of other improvements down the line. I'm seeing a couple of improvements in 20th and 21st place. But for now we'll stay here in pole. Unfortunately the Porsche number 80, driven by Rule Nunes, will not make a proper improvement. We'll make basically the same exact lap time. 140.3 for the Portuguese driver. Kyalami here in the 78 is possibly about to make a little improvement here, but I'm also seeing just behind is Marco Cady in 14th place, also making an improvement. We'll stay in the splitter here. Oh, just a bit on the grass. That's actually okay, since it helps with your line, and he improves by a 10th, but it doesn't mean that he improves by a position. He will stay in 4th without improvement on his starting grid. Meanwhile, here Runes is definitely back in something. 2 times better than himself. It will be the effective 39 I was so much saying about. After the mineshaft, into the crocodiles. Then Cheetah is next. And he still is improving! He goes slightly sideways there. But nevertheless, he doesn't lose as much time as I thought. He actually goes smooth, and he goes 2 times quicker. And it's not going to be enough for a 49, it's actually going to be a 40.072. But 2 times ahead of Wegman here in the number 67. Is about to start his next couple of laps. He will not have 2 attempts. He will just have 2 attempts, apologies. He will not have 3 attempts, just 2. This one and the next one. And considering the first lap is usually made with not optimal temperatures in the tires, he may just as well have a single shot for his qualifying session. Meanwhile here, Kazmiri is improving by a very little margin, 45 milliseconds, and also Dodos is improving by a 10th. That 10th would give him a 2nd place, since Wegman is just a 10th ahead of the Ferrari driver. It's actually the older Ferrari now that I look at about it, which is odd, seeing an old version of the Ferrari. The funny thing is that this car here is actually ahead of every other Ferrari in the standing, and his lap time will not be a valid one, as he went completely out of line into Cheetah. Giovannini here is absolutely making a great lap time. 5 attempts for a brief moment of improvement. Goes slightly off the apex there. Braking point is correct. In fact, he touches the apex just a tiny bit, and he goes in 2nd place. 1/10, a tiny bit more away from pole position, but he is at the moment in 1st row. Ferrari number 7 to 8, driven by the German driver David Naskidashvili. is making a very good improvement here. 3 times on himself. Goes slightly too wide, maybe. No, actually he improves his time thanks to that. And he doesn't make it into pole position, but he goes in second, stealing away Giovannini's front row and making himself in second place, just 35 milliseconds behind Nunes. But it's not over yet, since here Wegman, remember, he was former pole position driver. He is now trying to get himself into first row. He goes just a tiny bit quicker than him. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. He, in fact, will not improve his lap time. The qualifying session is also over, so we'll stay in 4th place unless someone else from behind will make a huge improvement. Jaminek here in at number 51, making a little improvement for himself. First 8 positions should be locked. Skady here is also completing the lap time. We'll say with Ek. He's definitely making a good improvement. Oh, that wheel movement was not optimal. For a moment, he loses the rear completely. And unfortunately, he doesn't manage to improve himself. And unfortunately, because it was 2 times better than himself, which would have meant 8th place from 13th, while Zaktal actually improved 4 times away from pole. And I think that's it for the 27 drivers. As a matter of fact, it is it. Everyone completed the qualifying session. As we go now with the pole driver, with the Portuguese in number 80. Oops. And we are now into starting grid. 2 minutes to go, and as always, I want to make things cool. Okay. Should be alright. For a moment I pressed F5 and I thought I was closing the game. So we are staring here at the 27 drivers lineup from the very tail end of the grid. As we go here, maybe I can do something if I don't have my... Okay. So starting from the back, we have Chris Schneider, Robinson, Sbella, Anderson, Gamov, Alves in the 87 Porsche, then Brooker, Vasiliadis, Sims, Sanchez, Vellman in the Audi number 29 here, with Olensny, Gallo, Kedi, Eck in 13th place over here, with Not, Alves, Zakdal in 10th place, and then Garbi, Ulrich, Kasmiri, Keenan in the 78 Lamborghini, Dobos, Wegman, Giovannini, with Naskidashvili and Nunes completing your 27 driver lineup. 30 seconds away from the very start of the formation lap, and for 2 hours, for an hour, already elongating the race. For an hour we will go racing in South Africa, the first round of the Pool SimGrid GT3 season 12 with the Masters, with the highest rank of them all. As the driver starts in position number 1, number 80. We'll go with a little detour into turn 1, which is this one here. Ironically, turn 1 is in a straight. And then 2, 3, 4, one after the other, which is Crowthorn. Then 3, and then I literally can't see the name of turn 4. Since it's cut from the image I took, I'm not really sure why. And then Barbecue, turn 5, on the apex in second gear. And you try to utilize as much as of the external curb as possible. Then the back straight. And then you brake around here on the red marker on the wall on the right. You go on the apex as fast as possible, trying to aim for the external curb. This is Sunset. A very long right-hander into clubhouse turn 7. You basically brake at the very initial part of the curb on the right. You try to just not even touch, going as close as possible to the curb on the inside. And then you go into the SS 8 and 9, over the curb on the left, over the curb on the right, over the curb on the left, but not too much, otherwise you get a track limit violation. The drive-through is right around the corner. After that, it's look up, blind braking spot. You try to brake when you see the marker on the right of the tarmac. You aim for the apex, and then it's downhill into mineshaft, which is turn 12 over there on the distance, flat out into the left side of your screen. And wheel and car and everything, to be fair. You can actually cut it a lot there on the asphalt. Well, not too much, otherwise you go on the grass. And then the 100 meters marker, that's your place to brake. There are two lines here. One, it's V-shaped, and the other is a U-shaped line. It's up to the drivers and the setup to decide which one is the best. You utilize all of the curb on the external part, since it's not really a curb, it's more like a tarmac thing. And then into 14, and then Cheetah, this one here on the right. Careful to the curb, otherwise it's game over for you. And then into 16, which is Ingwe. Last corner of the South African track. But enough about technicism, and we go for a little more action into the first round of the Poor SimGrid GT3 Season 12. And it's the green light, and away we go with a very good start by the Porsche. A terrible one by the Ferrari in second place, as I think it happened. In fact, it happened, but Mercedes behind in number 67 wants to go on the outside, closes the door on the very final moment. There, Giovannini tries to go on the inside, actually goes on the inside, actually makes a position. There is also Keenan on the very inside of turn 4. Tries to go on the outside of Barbecue. He doesn't seem to be able to make the position. It's actually going to be Dobos that is closely able to make it happen into the Mercedes. Another the moment, as you can see, the Ferrari goes completely wide, loses the line, and I think Keenan will be able to make the position number 5. And oh, there is a contact! Major incident by the two drivers, one in the Ferrari and the other in the other Ferrari. And there is also, it was another car, I think it was the leader. It was in fact the second place holder, not even the leader, that crashed on himself. Naskidashvili is now in the pits, and Kazmiri too. As Giovanni loses 2 places out of the S's. We know they go sideways there. Supposedly get hit by a couple of multiple drivers there. But I suppose it was an initial contact into the braking zone. We'll try to follow every other incident and overtake that has just happened in the replay after the situation has calmed down a bit. As the Porsche number 8 loses the place on Zaktal in the number 331. With also the Audi number 29 about to make a place. But in the very front of the pack, 3 seconds away from the leader. It's actually Keenan trying to make a position into the outside. It doesn't happen. That's actually Giovannini that wants to make a move. But even that doesn't happen. As we go into the rear view camera of Tom Wegman. As the Dutch driver loses the rear a bit. Tiny contact. A bit of a bump draft between Keenan and Wegman. For now, the Mercedes keeps the place. Number 2. But it's a bit clearer. It's a bit clear that the Lamborghini number 78 has a possible chance into the second place in the upcoming laps. Again, seems like the Mercedes is overdoing, trying to keep the place. Or maybe it's just cold tires, but nearly goes completely off track. As Garby also is maybe trying to make a spot for himself into 4th, as Giovannini is slowing down a bit compared to Keenan. As I think the 728 actually just has major problems with his equipment since he was stopped on the track again. It was very awkward also the placement where he was basically idle. By the way, here it is, the incident that has happened on the 2 Ferrari. It was actually the pink Aaron Lynch Ferrari going absolutely on its own and colliding with the number 984 now at the very tail of the pack, as he makes a very good overtake from the outside on Sanchez. That Porsche there nearly loses completely the car. It was the number 16 of Not. I think that's another placement for, oh, nearly on the curb, for the car number 313 on the outside. As Brooker, he has lost a couple of places. Wonder the reason for that. Oh, he completely missed the braking point. He misses also the Lamborghini ahead of him, but that means that he went from 17th to 20th place. As I also want to see if I can pinpoint I think it was this one here. It was indeed this one here. You can see the reason. Oh, it was the other Porsche. Apologies. It was the number 16 actually. It was this one here with the 444. Oh, it was indeed a contact from behind. It was the Aston Martin of I couldn't see exactly, but I think it was the 331. Maybe someone else. As Lobos goes on the outside of Chris Schneider, extreme on the curb, but rightfully he's trying to make as many places as possible. Here there is an entire pack of cars that wants every possible position achievable. Oh, that BMW went extremely on the external part of the track. It was Robinson in the 336 as defense against the 87 of Alves. That stays behind, actually loses the place on Brooker. That makes another placement for himself. He goes in 19th place. And maybe even 18th. Trying to overtake the BMW there. He will not be able to do so, as Robinson keeps the place. It doesn't give much space to the car behind. There is also Zaktal here going for the move into the Lamborghini number 51 of Eck. As Zaktal is on the outside, it now becomes now inside into Barbecue. The position is now on next side, but it may not be over, or maybe it is. Okay, yeah, it is. Deckhead loses the place on Zakdal unless he goes for a very late move. It doesn't. I will say 9th place. The next opponent is going to be the up ahead. The moment the best time is on Wegman, a 1:40.9, but he is still 4 seconds behind the leader, or 3.5 now. Something happened to the leader, clearly he made a mistake somewhere. That was grass, that was a lot of grass, that was actually the Mercedes going on the grass, and that was actually the position number 2 going away for a brief moment, side by side, over the start-finish line, but it's going to be the Lamborghini that has a way better acceleration outside of turn 16. But it's not over yet as the Mercedes goes deep on the brakes. And I think it is a switchback move from the Lamborghini driver that goes on the outside, then becomes the inside, and then becomes second place for Keenan, as the Irishman is now chasing Nunes for the very lead of the race. Meanwhile, Beckman possibly will try as best as possible to try to clinch back the position he just lost. In all of this, the happiest person in the entire fight is possibly Nunes, as he is seeing the gap becoming larger and larger. The major problem is that the Dutchman here can't just look forward, because behind there is another danger, which is the Ferrari number 28. Steadily maintains the gap of half a second to the car in front. There has been a contact of some sort between those that went on the outside. Try to make a place there. Okay, no, I think it was just something else, since nothing really happened there, apart from an overtake now here between the 166 of Brooker and Robinson up ahead in front. As for 18th place, as others is trying as much as possible to take a placement more into 19th. There are 3 different trains at the moment. There is the one for second place, there is the one for 12th place, and there is the one for 18th place. Because all the cars between, for example, between 2nd and 9th are all gapped in less than a second. The train is very fast. But also the one up here, as you can see, it's very much on point. It's the one for 12th place. as the Ferrari of Vasiliadis is a tiny bit quicker at the moment. He goes on inside, maybe too big. Oh, there is a contact. In fact, I was saying it was a bit too late. Contact between the Porsche number 15 and the Ferrari number 987 of Vasiliadis. And another contact once more. It was the Aston Martin of Gallo. It was the Porsche, apologies, of Gallo that went sideways, clearly flashing the lights. Obviously not happy with what just happened. And now there is also, as you can see there, it was Dobos trying to go on the very external part of the racetrack to overtake the Porsche number 87 and number 166, apologies, and as a matter of fact, it does so. There is also the Ferrari there of Vasiliadis, apologies, trying to cover the position number 16 by Olesny, of which the contact happened just earlier on. It's actually going to be the Porsche that loses the place on the BMW that goes on inside and makes the place number 17 for a brief moment. There is a tiny bit of contact there. There is also the Ferrari of Darren Link's Ferrari. Oh, there is Alves that goes literally from nowhere and takes place number 20 with Robinson that now goes into 19th since he loses the place on Dobos with Olesny that keeps the placement for now over the Ferrari and the BMW behind. As you can see there, the BMW goes into the inside. He has to cover both sides of an action. Oh, Anderson is off. Anderson is off. He loses all the places he had at the moment. He was 13th. He is now in 20th place, losing everything. Vasiliadis goes on inside on turn 16 and makes the place number 14 on Gamov in the number 23 Lamborghini. But it's possibly not over since the Ferrari doesn't have a proper top speed. It's actually going to be the Lamborghini that has a tiny bit more. Bumper draft was an option there. He goes on the outside. Oh, contact behind is actually the Ferrari that makes contact with the Lamborghini because it was a contact between the Ferrari and the Porsche. More contacts between the two drivers with the Ferrari 313 that unfortunately has to sit in the very external part of the racetrack, loses everything once more and possibly goes on retirement for the night. We know Anderson and Alves that are fighting for position number 18 with the Ferrari that keeps the position number 18, and Alves that nearly loses the position number 19 of not actions. It actually doesn't happen. Meanwhile, up in front, as I can at least let's just see the incident that happened here between the 313. As you can see here, goes on the outside, changes idea, and that was, I think that was a moving under braking. I think that was definitely a move under braking. I want to see it again. As you can see here, goes on outside. Yeah, that was definitely moving under braking, and Lamborghini a bit innocent there. Meanwhile, Ulrich goes on Garbi on the external part of turn number 2. And there is also Katie and Zagdal fighting for each other. Oh, there is a bit of a contact between the two drivers with the BMW. And it's a free wide. And there is a contact with the Aston Martin on the outside. And the BMW in another free wide. And into barbecue, it's going to be Porsche, McLaren, Aston Martin, BMW, and then Lamborghini. With Katie that takes the upper spot of the 4, of the 5 actually. In all of that, with Zagdal that goes in 7th place and Garbi that loses the place on, actually, Katie that was very much behind. That was actually Eck that goes on inside in a bit of an impossible way to take the place number 8. With Ulrich that has just to sit behind and let it go away. There's also Bellman now trying to go over the outside, but it can't really happen there. Zagdal was about to go fighting again with Eck, but that didn't really happen. Meanwhile, behind Olsny and a contact with Brooker, Oh, more than a contact with Brooker. That was a bit of a shove, to be fair. And in fact, that's Robinson passing through. And I hardly suspect it will be reviewed by the stewards. Meanwhile, there is also the Ferrari number 888. It thinks about an overtake. And it's actually going to be the Porsche behind of Not that makes the move on Alves. And Not goes in 19th place. With Anderson in 18th. And Olesny in 17th. It keeps the upper position of the entire fight. And in all of these, I don't think it's over by any means. I think it's better to go up front, since I'm seeing a couple of battles that may sparkle. It's again Zaktal versus Ek. This entire train here is losing massive amount of time. In fact, 4 seconds is the gap between Katie and Giovannini now. As Ek here, 3 times away from the car. Oh, that's also Alves going for the inside into the SS on the BMW number 41. It doesn't make it happen. It's actually going to be possibly Veldman that utilizes this fight to take one of the 2 places, maybe even both. In fact, the BMW goes on the outside, stays on the outside, and loses the place on Veldman too, and Ulrich plummets into 11th place. Even if there is still a fight. In fact, the BMW goes on the inside, tries to take the place. Audi that keeps the defense high for the position he just achieved. And that's 10th place for Veldman. Unfortunately for Ulrich, that was fighting for 5th place. Now he's fighting to stay in the top 10. Now Garbi is starting to be a bit of a obstacle to the Swedish driver, since he's getting closer to the McLaren, the number 221. Now the McLaren goes on the defensive. Oh, there is a contact! There was a contact. There was definitely a contact between McLaren and the Aston Martin driver with Eck that tries to go on the outside of the Aston in a bit of a very difficult way. But I want to see that contact once more. It was the tiniest of contacts, that's for sure, but that would have been way worse if not for a fraction of a second of reaction time by, I think it was the McLaren that went slightly more offline, off the line, not offline. We can see it back from here. McLaren defense. Yeah, it was indeed the tiniest of contacts. Huh? There was a contact. Huh? As you can see from the wing, the fence. Yeah, you can see the sparks flying off the rear of Garby. And now it's obviously a concern regarding the if of possible damage. Mila Giovannini goes in for the undercut. 36 minutes away from the final flag showing. A bit too early, to be fair, in my mind, because I would have waited just a tiny bit, literally just a single lap more, which I know it seems nothing, but Kyalami ain't that helpful in that regard. You have a drop in Kyalami, so basically it's all is good, and then one lap to the other. There is a contact here between the Audi and the number 41 BMW with Veldman that unfortunately loses 5 seconds out of that. You can see the incident from the rear view of the Audi driver. Unfortunately, the BMW was a bit too late on the brakes in my mind, because the Audi was clearly off the line already by itself. So another contact just happens, but this time the ending is not as good as the earliest one. The earlier one. Unfortunately, the trains have been dismembered, as only a handful of drivers remain in this train. Now only 3 drivers, Garby, Zagdal and Eck, and Alves basically chasing the train. As Katie goes into the pits, and it's astonishing to see, at least from here, from the race control menu, that Wegman and Keenan have maintained the same exact lap for basically every single lap since their switch. As Zagdal goes on the outside. Very tricky to make it happen there. Oh, there is a contact! Oh, there is a McLaren going completely off! Oh, there is a McLaren on the gravel! Goes back into the racetrack! It is actually going to be Eck in 4th place! Out of nowhere! For a brief moment it was Eck in 4th place. Now it's Zagdal on the inside though, and I think it also means that he keeps the place number 4. Eck even goes on the grass to try to cut as much time as possible, but he can't make the place! There was a chance there, but unfortunately there wasn't the space, the optimal space there, and now Garby becomes another issue, because he becomes the chaser and not the one being chased. Eck goes on the inside, very late move by the Lamborghini driver, but completely fair on that regard. No contact between the 2 drivers. Good special awareness by both. Over the crest, into mineshaft they go, into 13, not 14, this is 14, as Wegman goes into the pit, effectively ending the streak of constant gap being maintained, and also Garby goes into the pits, and also the Porsche behind of Alves goes into the pits, but breaks a lot earlier than Garby. losing a second over there. And now 32 minutes, we are in undercut region. If you don't pit now, you have to pit a lot more after the midpoint, otherwise you basically stay in a place where you lost the place on the one undercutting you, and you don't have any advantage on tire compared to the ones overcutting you, which is why I always suggest not to pit in the midpoint. Pitting in the midpoint is the worst possible decision. You either undercut or overcut. Doing a compromise is never truly a compromise. It's especially in this situation, pitting at the very midpoint is just a way to lose places. And possibly here the Irishman in the number 78, possibly he has to be into the pits as soon as the chance happens, since he could be undercutted by the Mercedes driver, the only Mercedes driver in the field. And I think that, okay, they will probably go over. Ulrich goes into the pits as Veldman and Garby are fighting for placement. I'm very confused, mostly because how I think something happened to Garby. He clearly went off track somewhere. Because he is now 2 seconds away from Alves. I remember that Garby was a second ahead of Alves. So I don't understand how though. 14. Oh, I can understand how. 5 seconds. He missed the pit box. That's what happened. That's exactly what happened. As Wegman is going into the inside, Keenan has cold ties. It's going to be a side-by-side between the two drivers. With Wegman on the outside, Keenan on the inside, but one has better ties than the other. He gets put into the grass by Keenan. And it's actually the Mercedes that has to stay on the outside once more into the distance, but he can brake way later than the Irish driver. And as a matter of fact, now Wegman is ahead of Keenan thanks to the undercut. As Zakhdal goes into the pit, I'm quite sure that I missed the overtake between Zakhdal and Ek. I apologize for that. Fortunately, I was a bit distracted, I'll be honest. As Ek remains with Alves, not even, so Ek will probably overcut. At this point, he is obliged to overcut. It's not like he has any chance to undercutting. But this is an important situation. Wegman takes second place. He stays 9 seconds behind the leader. But Keenan has to chase the car ahead. Unless Giovannini can improve his pace in the second part of the race and get himself into the podium positions. Okay, I was a bit confused because I saw another Alves in 21st place. It's actually two different Alves. I wonder if they are brother or cousins. Svelvan here and Garby are chasing one another. But at the moment there doesn't seem to be any proper indication of who is going to overcome the other. The last lap was a 41.3 for both drivers. Actually, both are gaining on Alves ahead in 9th place. And something interesting just happened, since Giovannini made the best racing time, a 140.8, and he gained 3 times on the cars ahead, so it may as well be the part where Giovannini can improve his placement. Only time will tell, but at the moment his time definitely is saying something. Just a tiny bit faster than Nunes one. Nunes one was a 40.850, but he still has to complete an effective racing lap. It was an improvement, but he went off track. It was a 40.7, and as the days become hotter, Wegman prints a 140.5. Apologies for that, but sometimes my there are some Italian words that I put into the English meaning, but it's actually the wrong English meaning, so sometimes it happens. Apologies for that. Bergman prints 40.5, which doesn't really help his advance into first place, but it helps getting further away from Keenan. Now a second, 0.1 away from Bergman. And Giovannini just closely following as Heck goes into the pits, finally. He is likely to be the fastest car on track on paper. At the moment he still is in the pits with full service for the car number 51, and Nunes goes quicker than anybody else. 140.5 for the Portuguese, now 8.5 seconds away. It's another 40.5, but it's time for Wegman. 40.6 and another 40.6 by Giovannini. Literally 2 milliseconds is the difference between the two, and X idea somehow worked because he is still in front of Zagdal, and he has. Can you just come on? He has 5 minutes of advantage on his tires, which on a 30-minute stint is quite a lot. It's 1/6. of the 30-minute distance, so it will definitely help to keep the placement, and maybe, just maybe, getting a 5th place is a possibility for the Swedish driver driving the Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2. Meanwhile, here it's Garbi that actually gapped Velman behind, so this actually answers a lot the question I had initially. It clearly is going to be Garbi that will overcome Velman, since there are 2 seconds of difference between the two. But now Garbi has a precious obstacle with the number 8 just ahead of him that is not letting him pass. That's for 9th place overall. Up ahead, the times are very similar, 40.8, 40.6, 0.7, 0.8 for the top 4. Nothing too fancy over there. But it is interesting to see that the gap between Ek and Zakdal and the Ked is getting shorter and shorter. An entire alpha second has been gained by the duo in the last lap only, with X time that will be unknown until the next passage over the line. McLaren had a way better line compared to the Porsche. In fact, you can see that the number 8 is defending already, keeping Garbi away as much as possible, with Ulrich clearly being happy about the situation, since he can extend the gap to 4 seconds at the moment. 40.5, 0.6, 0.7 and 0.6. Nunes is a little hammer at the moment. He doesn't have the fastest lap, but he does have the better consistency, with one of the fastest times overall. It's actually the second fastest time overall. The one that has just been submitted in lap number 20. No, this is 23rd lap, so lap number 22. For now, here the situation is a bit odd, because Keenan is slowly sliding away from Wegman, and Giovannini is just behind. Every single time a tiny bit faster, but being a tiny bit faster is completely useless if the moment you get into dirty air you lose that tiny bit of being faster. Giovannini that closed the gap massively there, and that's only because of a different racing line. As I said earlier, U-shape versus V-shape. With Keenan utilizing a U-shape. Better traction, slower entry speed, but faster exit speed. But if you have a more agile car, it's the V-shape that you really want to search for. As Giovannini closed the gap 2 times more, 141.3, so an eternity being lost by Keenan, and Giovannini also lost a good chunk of time. With Nunes just set a 40.3, a very interesting data is that Zactal in 7th place actually submitted a 40.3 and is just 20 milliseconds slower than the quickest lap time of the entire grid. Okay, Zactal utilized X slipstream to make it happen, but nevertheless, it was one of the fastest time being set. It was the second fastest lap being set at the moment. So Nuno extends the gap to 9.2 seconds at the moment. Goes to 9, more or less 9 seconds. Whilst here, it's a 0.6, 0.8, 0.7 and 1.0. So Giovannini seems like he's now losing a bit. Probably having a more agile car means that he's utilizing a lot more the tires compared to Keenan, which on the short term is good, but on the long term is not really going to benefit you. And in fact, unless something changes abruptly, I think that's what is happening there. Giovannini. Meanwhile, Ek just submitted. Oh, my voice. Ah! Okay. I'm nearly losing completely the ability to speak, which for many would have probably been a bless, but unfortunately it didn't happen for you. I am one of them. Ek last time was a 40.5, so the tire advantage is definitely going to his favor, and he's getting 7/10 per lap on the car ahead, which has pitted on the 45 minutes mark. So I'm very confident to say that there will probably be at least an argument about 5th place. But it's clear who has the upper hand on that regard. .8, but it doesn't mean he is losing time. He actually managed to gain 6 times on the car ahead. Now the gap is 4.1 seconds, and it was 6 the very beginning of the stint of the car number 51. With the number 737 actually being one of the slowest cars on track. Looking at the times. And I'm quite sure I was right about the Italian driver here. The setup is probably a tiny bit too aggressive, and the tires are not really happy with that decision. In fact, he is losing precious time. He is now 1.8 seconds away from Keenan, and I suspect he also is kind of letting it go. That was a car going gravel. There was Wegman going sideways on the gravel. That was second place holder, and the Dutchman is off the track. You can see what happened there. He went a tiny bit too much on the inside. He didn't collide with the wall, but he unfortunately lost second, third, and fourth place. He is now back in 5th place. 10 seconds lost on that incident, because that's what it was. And unfortunately, Wegman is out of the podium too, and I doubt he will be able to clinch it back since 30 minutes remain on the timer, and he has 8 seconds basically of gap to Giovannini. Although I highly suspect Katie will not be a huge disadvantage to, well, a huge obstacle to Wegman's path. But absolutely a change from day to night for the Mercedes driver there. Losing the podium altogether. Unfortunately, that's cheetah. And just as a cheetah, if you are too distracted, there is no coming back. It kills you. Simply put. I was trying to be a bit dramatic, but I'm not really able to do it at the moment. I could improve, probably. Exactly, yeah, basically utilizing Ek as a little bit of a toe, and he just submitted another 40.5, actually being the quickest car on track at the moment, with Ek submitting a 40.9, so not an optimal lap time by the Swedish driver there. The situation has completely changed. In the last 10 minutes, we'll possibly see who will have the upper end in the middle here. Zakar is a bit by surprise, I'll be honest. He's absolutely dominating this part of the race, with Ek actually starting to become a bit of an obstacle rather than a toe, to be completely honest. 40.8 by Wegman, 40.8 by Ek, 40.7 by Zakdal, so I'll be honest, I would avoid battling for placement at the moment. It will be unnecessary and kind of a waste of time, since these two here are about to battle for placement, and 3 seconds there are very easy to gain back, especially since they were gaining half a second per lap earlier on. It's going to sunset, turn 6? I was saying 5, but then I remembered that turn 1 exists. Its existence, I doubt it's useful for anybody, but who cares? And that Ek, that was Ek losing the place on Zakdal. Oh, there is a contact between the two drivers. There is a bit more contact, and I don't think they will gain anything by 4th and 5th battling. I really think they are battling for the placement at the moment, and they really don't care about who is going to be the one chasing. In fact, they just lost a second just because of that. With the 51 and the 51 battling once more, they've been battling for practically the entirety of the race. Whilst here in 4th place, it's another 41.2 by Katie, it's a 41.1 by Wegman, it's a 42.3 and 5 respectively for Ek and Zakdal. So they lost an entire second because of that discussion, sort of. And with that, possibly the chance to go into 5th place. Oh, that was a bit much wide. for Wegman, possibly. It was an off-track limit violation. I'm not sure how many they have at the moment. I suppose the answer is definitely not 4, since nobody had a drive-through. Oh, it goes... Okay, it was the camera for a moment. I got excited for a moment, a bit in a useless way. Maybe it's better to use this camera. .3 by both drivers, and Ek is back at gaining. 0.9 for the Swiss driver. Oh, there is a contact! There is more than a contact! There is the kind of track completely! It's actually Kenny losing the placement. Number 4 with Wegman kind of kindly asking it to go away as much as possible. You can see it back from this point of view. You can see getting slightly tapped. That was definitely a way to make it a pass. I want to see it back from here though. I really want to see how it really unfolded. You can see there. It wasn't even that much aggressive, to be fair. It was a gently push to just say, no, go away from my eyesight. The slowest contact ever. And although that tiny contact was enough to lose an entire second on X car. Okay. The leader in all of these, with 4 minutes to go, flew away. 12 seconds away from Keenan, and 16 to Giovannini. Over here, I think it's the real deal. The 888 is somewhere with yellow flags being shown. It was a battle with Alves, and that was the curb, but he didn't have the same. No, he did have the same consequences as Wegman, now in 4th place. In fact, the last lap was a 42.0 for Chiedi, and it was a 40.9 for Ek, with Zachtel submitting a 1.1. Just a tiny bit more than 2 seconds is the gap between Ek and Chiedi. So we'll go for a little moment with the Lamborghini driver for a lap from the cockpit cam. Actually, in the last lap, there's been a bit of a change in the scenario, because Eck actually didn't gain much on KD. It's actually Zach that has managed to gain a 10th on the Lamborghini driver. And we also are on the last laps. Meanwhile here, Robinson and Sanchez are fighting each other for placement number 17. With the Porsche 73 making the place. And leaving Robinson in 18th place. Over there, I think, looking from the gap, I think something happened to Sims. Seems to Lutis in the gap has slided away, and now the leader, Roel Nunes, in the Porsche 992, is on the last lap, number 35, 13 seconds ahead of Keenan. I think it was a Grand Slam, fastest lap. Pole position, first, okay, yeah, it was a Grand Slam. Pole position, win, fastest lap, and never losing the, actually, he has lost the first place, to be fair, so it's not a Grand Slam. Because Eck overcutted so much that he actually was in first place for some time. But nevertheless, a dominant performance. He never really lost a place though. He just effectively lost it, but virtually he was always on top. And this performance was incredible. The only driver that is still managing to stay in the 40s. Literally nobody else is able to do the same. But as we go into the Crocodiles and the Cheetah, into round number 1, that was a bit too fast. Into round number 1 for the South African Kyalami appointment. It's going to be Roel Nunes for Tempus SimSport in the number 80 Porsche 992 that completes the race in pole position and wins the race, the inaugural race of the season, with Terence Keenan second place and William Giovannini 7 seconds away in third place, completing the podium. Then Wegman, unfortunately, just fourth, with Katie in fifth, Eck in sixth, Zachary in 7th, Ulrich in 8th, Alves in 9th place, ahead of Garby in 10th place. Then Veldman, Sims, and Brooker just behind. With Noted, unfortunately, stopping on the track. Oh no, he's out of fuel! No, he's out of fuel! Will not complete the race! In fact, he's getting passed by everyone! Oh boy! Orez is 15th, Robinson is 16th, 17th for Sanchez, Vasiladis in 18th, Sbella in 19th, Alves is going to be in 20th, and Gamov in 21st, since not, will not be able to complete the race. Very likely. Put it in neutral, not first gear. Crawling back, like, not even crawling back, crawling over the line as fast as possible, which is this. But unfortunately, I think it's slightly uphill. Yeah, it's slightly uphill, so I don't think he will be able to make it to the end. Yeah, no. Unfortunately, he will not be able to effectively complete the race. Top 10 saddest moment, 2024. Yep, the car is stopped. So he will complete the race in 22nd place only, unfortunately. He was in a very good place before that. But that was... Do I have the image here? Yes, I have. That was the round number 1 in Kyalami. Next week we will go to Spa-Francorchamps in the Belgium Ardennes. Is it the Ardennes? I don't know. For... Oh, wait. Okay. For round number 2. And we will see if something changes on the positions regard. I remind you that this series is sponsored by Pulse SimGrid. That was me avoiding to die. And the winner in Pro class will receive gloves and sock coupon, whilst the silver winner will receive a Pro gloves coupon for their purchase on the Pulse SimGrid merchandising. Nevertheless, that's it for tonight. I hope you had a good time, and I will see you all next time, so January the 25th, for some more racing in Spa. Until then, have a good evening or good night, wherever you're in the world, and see you next time. Bye!